Welcome to Economics Trainer. This video was made to help you strengthen your skills in microeconomics. Here we have a sample question, care of brighttutoring.ca. It's the kind of question you'd expect to see on a test in a first-year microeconomics class. Let's work through it together. So here's the question. Consider a competitive market with a supply curve of market price P equals 40 plus 0.1 times the quantity supplied, and it has a demand curve of market price P equals 140 minus 0.4 times the amount of quantity demanded. With that information, what we have to figure out is what happens when there's a price ceiling policy of $50 in this competitive market, and then see how that changes the equilibrium market quantity, consumer and producer surplus, and the deadweight loss. So to start off, let's find the competitive equilibrium and then see how it changes when the price policy is implemented. So here we have supply and demand. So let's draw it out here. Here's our demand and supply curves. And then we know the competitive equilibrium will be here. Now let's see if we can figure out the choke prices where the quantity equals 0 by plugging that into each curve. Here we have a price of 40 plus 0 for the supply curve, so we'll have a 40 down here. And then for the demand curve, same thing, plug 0 here, we get a 140 up there. So here, let's find the competitive equilibrium here by doing supply equals demand. Let's see where it wants to be to start. So let's say, okay, we got 40, 0.1 Q. That's going to be equal to the demand. So let's put the quantities on the left-hand side here, so it'll become positive, and we get 0.5 Q. And then that's going to equal, let's see, 140 minus 40, so that's going to be 100. And then we multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of that half, and then we get our Q star. It's going to be 200. That's going to be this point down here. So we're going to have 200. So okay, out of that quantity, we go and hit either supply or demand, and we get the market price here. So we go up, let's plug into the supply curve here. We say, okay, for the supply curve at that point, we get P equals 40 plus 0.1 times 200. So what do we get here? Market price, we have 40 plus 10% of 20, or yeah, it'd be 20 there, so that's going to be 60 in total. So let's see, so this is going to be 60. So now we have that figured out for the competitive equilibrium. We can figure out what happens with the market policy now in terms of this 50. We know this 50 here is going to be below the $60, so it's going to be right here. So that's the price ceiling here. And since you can't go above it, now it's going to create this excess demand. The consumer says this is great, you save $10, and the producer doesn't like it because they don't make as much profit on it. So it moves down, and then here we're going to have the excess or the shortage. Or we have excess demand, basically. So here is going to be the short side of the market. And that's going to be our new equilibrium here. And then, of course, the new price is 50, which is what it's set at from the policy. So let's see, let's find this point here. And then for the consumer and producer surplus, when we find that, we'll say, okay, the consumer now is above the market price. So they're going to be up here and here. And then for the producer surplus, they're going to be down here. And then we get a deadweight loss in here. So let's start off here by finding the new equilibrium. So we say, okay, in the policy here, what we have is, you can see here, this is where 50 is going to hit the supply curve. So let's say, okay, a supply curve at a price of 50. So we do 50 equals 40 plus 0.1 Q. Let's see, let's move stuff over. We get 10 equals 0.1 Q. And then we say, okay, if we have 10 divided by 0.1, we get 100. So that's going to be your new equilibrium instead of having 200. So that's going to be this point down here. So we say, okay, now it's down to 100 units. That's how the quantity changes. That drops down. And then we can figure out what happens to the consumer and producer surplus. The producer surplus, let's see, we have the triangle here to here. So we say, okay, for producer surplus, let's figure that out. So we say, okay, for producer surplus, that's just going to be the triangle here. So let's see, the base of the triangle is 0 to 100, so it's going to be 100 for the base. And then for the height, it's going to be the distance from here to here. So let's see, that's 50 minus 40. And then we divide by 2 for the triangle. So let's see, we have 100 times 10, and then divided by 2. So that'd be 100 times 5. That's going to be 500. So that's that purple area down here. And then we can see here for the consumer surplus up here in the green, they have this box here, and then they also have a smaller triangle here. So they have 2 sections here. So we figure out the consumer surplus. We say, okay, the CS, we have to deal with the box first, which is width times length, and then you deal with the triangle, base times height divided by 2. So let's see here. For this box here, we can figure out the base is pretty easily. The width is 100. And the height or the length, that's going from here to here. So let's see, we have 50 here. And then this point here we got to figure out. So we say, okay, that's 100 going up into the demand curve. So if we do this point up here real quick, we can figure this out. We say, okay, that's going to be 100 as the quantity in demand. So we say, okay, that's P is 140 minus 0.4. Let me plug 100 in. So that's 40% of 100. That'll be 40. So 140 minus 40. So that's going to be 100 there. So we can say, okay, that's going to be P bar here. 100, and then we can figure out that distance there, because that's going to be 100 to 50. So that's going to be 50. That's the length. And then to figure out this triangle up here, it's good we found this point down here, because we can get this height here. We have that as 40, distance between 140 and 100, so we have 40 there. And then the base is the same base, the distance here, which is the 100. And then divide by 2. So what do we have here? We have 5,000. Let's see, okay, 40 divided by 2 would be 20. And we got 2 more zeros on it. So that's going to be your CS is 7,000. So that's that total green area there. So you can see the consumer really went up in terms of where they were before. Now in terms of the deadweight loss here, for that part there, what we have to do is just see, okay, we have to figure out this triangle here to here and then to here. So let's see for the deadweight loss. Let's see for the base, let's see the base is distance from here to here. So it's 200 to 100, so it's 100. And the height, which is here to here, let's see, this is 50 going up to 100. So that's going to be 50. And then divide by 2. So let's see, that'll be 25 there. and then we have 200 at the end. So that'll be the loss of surplus compared to what was before in the competitive equilibrium. And that's how you do that question. This video is brought to you by people who like, share, and subscribe to this channel. You can also support my work by buying me a coffee.